Video, I want to walk you through some of the features we get in this text editor we're using here. And some of these features are there no matter what in the text editor, and some of them are special because we have this TypeScript file, which makes the editor even more powerful. So TypeScript is the superset of JavaScript, and what it's really good at knowing about is what are called types. So types are the types of things a computer can know about. So computers mostly know, like we obviously understand computers know about numbers, right? So a number like 20 is a number. Computers also know about things called strings. That's like words. So for example, the word black here is something the computer might know or be able to use. But then more importantly, computers also have these abstractions called objects. So for example, to draw in a web page, we use what's called a canvas, and the canvas can have different drawing contexts. And TypeScript knows all about JavaScript and all about the web browser and how web browsers work. And so it's going to know all about those objects. The way we can see that is either by typing or by hovering our mouse over the items in our code. So as we look at code here, first thing to notice is there's some color coding. You notice the things that are in quotes get put in orange. That shows us that those are strings. The special words like let is how we define a new variable. So anytime there's a let, it gets colored blue. And the comments, which is like extra code, it's extra information for the computer, but it's not, doesn't affect the program. It's just information for the programmer, highlighted in green. So this first thing I'm looking at here, I've got the drawing context. If I hover over the word CTX, it shows me helpfully, hey, that's a canvas rendering context. And it also shows the comment that I wrote, the drawing context, i.e. digital pen. So anytime I hover over CTX, it's going to remind me that CTX stands for the pen. And it's going to repeat whatever comment I wrote here when I defined it. Well, notice when I got the context here, it told me, oh yeah, an HTML canvas element has this thing called getContext, and it explains, there's a whole long explanation. This thing returns an object that provides methods and properties for drawing and manipulating images and graphics on a canvas element in a document. So that's telling me what the heck this CTX thing is going to be. And that's a great introduction to how objects work in JavaScript, this canvas object. So here's some example code I had. I told the canvas drawing context to move to 2020, and then I told it to make a line to 100, 200. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a second line. And as I type, I'm always going to start with using methods, I start with the object, so that's CTX. And this is offering to autocomplete different sorts of things. So you'll notice right away it notices that I'm probably typing CTX, the drawing context. Then we use a dot to get the object. And now I'm getting a whole menu of everything you can do with a drawing context. So the thing I want to do is called line2. So I'm going to type line. And now I can see all the different line methods. And you can arrow through these and hit tab to complete. You could also click with a mouse. I recommend always using some form of auto-completion, like either clicking or hitting the tab. That way you make sure you get the actual thing. Now, after I hit line 2, I type parentheses. Any method, you run the method or you call the method, to use the programmer speak, by hitting parentheses. And then when you type parentheses in TypeScript, it's always going to show you what information that method expects. Those are called arguments. So in this case, it expects 2 arguments, and it's telling you right here, it expects x, which is a number, and y, which is a number. So if you're familiar with math class, you know that numbers for x and y are x and y coordinates. So I'm just going to try putting in 2 numbers here. And a semicolon ends a statement. And now I can see that I drew a second line. This one went to 200, 100 instead of to 100, 200. Now, one of the beautiful things about TypeScript is it makes it really easy to explore an object, or what programmers call an API, which is like an interface into something. So the browsers give programmers this nice way to draw, and we can explore, hey, what are all the other things? So maybe you're curious about, hey, what's line join? Now notice this time it says it's not a method, it's a property. So properties we don't call, and if I try to call it, I immediately get red underlines telling me, hey, I can't invoke something that lacks a call signature. What that means is this thing isn't a function, I can't invoke it. I want to use an equal sign. And now it's going to tell me, hey, you can't assign it to nothing. So what is line join? Let's say I tried putting it to a number. It's still going to be underlined because it's telling me, wait, that's not assignable to type canvas line join. Now, this doesn't really give me any hints about what canvas line join is. So I could try some different things. I can also just Google it. So anytime you see these methods, because you have a real method name, you could say, hey, line join canvas JavaScript, and put that into Google. And you're almost always going to see a result from Mozilla and from W3 Schools as your top two hits. And those are both very good websites that document what's called the API, or the basic programming interface. And here we can see a full explanation. We can also just see an example, which is really what we want. Oh, it goes in quotes. So let me try, instead of a number like that, just type in quotes. And then it was the word round. And now it gets joined. Also, if I just start typing a quote there, TypeScript is actually going to know what the three possible outputs are, and it's going to tell me and put them there. It's a little hard to see what the line join is here with such a narrow line. I'm going to go ahead and make the line wider by using this line width property. And this time when I hover, it tells me, hey, line width should be a number. So cool. I'll just type a number. Now I can see, okay, bevel, let's try round. So line join is changing what it looks like when two lines come together. And I think there was one more, miter. So I get three different types of ways of joining the line. I learned all that just by basically looking at the autocomplete. I can do a quick Google search if I need to. And then also I can just play around with it. So this is kind of what TypeScript makes really easy for you, is because TypeScript knows that the type of this CTX object is this drawing context, it then knows to tell you what sorts of things you can type on a drawing context. And if you were to type the wrong sort of thing, it'll give you an error, and it'll put red underline to show you what the problem is. So TypeScript makes it really easy to fix problems before they happen, to discover new functionality you might not have known was there, and to correct problems when you do make them. So if I put, for example, this 20 inside of quotes, I immediately get a red underline, and it tells me, hey, it's not assignable to type number. One last note, some kinds of errors TypeScript doesn't necessarily help with. If you see an error like this, this is saying, hey, I couldn't even compile this JavaScript, and Vite's very nice at spitting out a big error message. And in this case, Vite's actually pointing directly at where the mistake is. Now, a lot of this is unterminated string literal, is pretty jargony for a beginner. You don't know what that means, but this little thing is trying to point and tell you, hey, you left a quotation mark off right there. And so I did. I fixed that. That goes away. It reloads, and my program is working.